Hi, my name is Mike Zuckerman, Qplic's Chief Marketing Officer, and I'm going to introduce and overview Virtual Master Data Management. This is the second video as part of our very successful series and webinars, Thinking of MDM, Don't Do It. You can see all of this and more by going to www.qplics.com and registering for the white papers and video access. So please check it out. Today I'm going to overview Qplics, data virtualization, our architecture for VMDM, functionality, and a no-holds-barred contrast with legacy MDM. Qplics is a data integration and data management company. You can see our corporate overview and other videos, such as a video on what is data virtualization, on our website, so please check that out. As a data integration and data management company, we provide all the products and capabilities you'd expect. We're uniquely differentiated by our use of data virtualization technology. We've wrapped it around our persistent metadata server, and this gives us the ability to do things that no other vendor can do. We deliver an environment that does not require the use of any SQL whatsoever and provides an equal playing field for relational, object, cloud, XML, and NoSQL data sources. No other vendor can do this. And we derive this from one continuum, one platform of product, license keyed from top to bottom to give you the pieces you need. And these are very unique capabilities that no other vendor can provide. We have many customers. We're adding customers every month. We're growing globally, and we have thousands of users around the world. This entire product set that you see is built upon one product platform, license key to cost effectively meet your needs. Please check out on our website the free download of Virtual Data Viewer, our metadata and data dictionary tool, and it's yours free on a perpetual license. It'll help you whether you're using our products or someone else's products to deploy data integration or BI or master data management. This is the world that our customers see either today or in the near future. They have most of the apps on the lower right. If they're large enterprise, if they're mid-tier, they're perhaps in the upper left already. But certainly the large customers are moving into the cloud. Salesforce.com, it's an object app in the cloud. It's not relational. And that's the world that we integrate. Relational, object, XML stores, NoSQL databases. This is the new world. And this is the world of the enterprise of the future. And the enterprise of the future is built on those pieces in the lower right, and you cannot make the transition to this new world using legacy MDM technologies. They are all relational and SQL based. They don't easily add support for cloud, let alone NoSQL. Ask any one of your existing MDM vendors, do they have support for Cassandra? Do they have support for MongoDB? The answer you'll receive today is no, they don't. We have announced support for that kind of capability. And the reason is that our dashboard makes it useful and relevant to do so. Our dashboard provides an equal playing field where you can integrate all of these different apps. You see them all as objects. You configure, click, and do the work you need to do to get it done. And legacy MDM does not address this new world. So what is data virtualization? Well, there are four basic pieces. Virtualization is the notion that all of this data can now be viewed from the apps that contain it in one place in our metadata store. You can see it all. Two, it's abstracted. You can see it in one consistent format. In our case, it's an object format, whether it's relational, XML, a cloud app like Salesforce or NetSuite or a NoSQL store, it doesn't matter. It all looks the same, so you can align and integrate and do the work you need to do. Three, it's federated. We give you the connectivity to selectively pull views or pieces and use them in other ways. Another word for federation we use is globalization, and this is a powerful capability. And four, presentation. We allow you to format the data for consuming apps. We allow you to change it in a way that a consuming app can use it. So in one system, the customer state is New York, N-E-W-Y-O-R-K, and in the other system it has to be stored as N-Y, and we give you the tools to do the transformations. But without coding, it's all automated, and it's all high-level formula builder, Excel-like. Very simple, very intuitive. Your CFO can sit down and work with the system and understand what it does. This is new software infrastructure. We're wrapped around a persistent metadata server. My story is I recall running a development team of 45 people and hearing one day about application servers. I guess that dates me a little bit. And that day I woke up and I heard about application servers and I said, Fine, I went back to sleep. 2 years later, I was buying 3 of them one morning because ultimately the application server provided the best way to solve certain functionality and performance needs that operating systems didn't provide. And most of us had to code and work around these issues, and sometimes not effectively. And then ultimately, application servers were pulled into the operating systems. And today, they're really part of the core infrastructure that we need to deploy and use the web. It's the same for the persistent metadata server. It's exactly the same. The persistent metadata server is an obvious and intuitive way to solve a lot of problems for data integration and master data management in BI. It's just obviously the best way to do this, and this technology will become pervasive. A few years in the future, you will see persistent metadata servers as a major and significant component of your IT infrastructure because they just solve the problem better than any other technology. And Qplex is one of the first vendors to bring this technology to you in an easily deployed and easily managed form. Each wave of virtualization brings cost savings. The analysts are very much aware of this. Whether it impacts you because you're integrating 2 things or because you're integrating for master data management. In the final analysis, most of the integration work falls to people such as your ETL teams. And ETL teams are very, very bright people. They do a very, very difficult job. They're integrating different schemas between disparate data sources. They don't get good documentation. And their hands are shackled by 10 to 20-year-old technology. ETL is ancient stuff. It came in the days of the data warehouse. I mean, it was there with, you know, the early deployment, almost the covered wagons and, you know, the horse-drawn wagons that were crossing Death Valley were there when ETL was being deployed for the first time. I mean, this stuff is really old, and so these ETL teams are shackled by this ancient technology, and it hasn't evolved because most of the current vendors out there have viewed the market as a professional services opportunity rather than a technology deployment. And every new and interesting thing that has looked so new and interesting has in fact been nothing more nor less than another variation of ETL. So some people have put a graphical interface on it. Well, that doesn't solve too many of your problems. Some people talk about reusable templates. I have not seen a reusable template in my life that is truly a reusable template. Some people have put connectors on them, so they've cobbled old relational SQL ETL technology to adapt to the cloud and said, wow, it's cloud integration, but it's still point-to-point. ETL tools connect point A to point B, and when you need to connect 5 or 6 things, you're running pipe from between all of these different points to build out your own hub and spoke. Data virtualization and our persistent metadata server and all of our tools, Virtual Data Manager and Virtual Master Data Manager, automate this hub and spoke for you. It's our natural architecture for deployment, and it just makes it much easier for ETL teams to be highly productive. Much easier. They become our greatest fans, and you get away from all of this complexity and all of these line drawings. I think of them as wire diagrams. You can just say goodbye to all that stuff. You can flush it away. No more wire diagrams, no more quasi-reusable templates. When you hear that stuff, you should run for cover because it's just very complex, very difficult, and very hard to reuse if at all. Our dashboard is easy. Here you see PeopleSoft, a relational app. We've gone through the API and exposed all the data, and here you see Salesforce and NetSuite. There are objects in the cloud, and everything's right there in front of you. You can begin discovery, you can line up data, you can get things into a common semantic reference point, and you can be productive almost immediately. This is exposed to you automatically if you have the security permissions. You can go deeper. You can now say, well, let's look at the structure of these sources. Let's compare them side by side. And using our heuristics, you can click on one field or one column, whether it's relational or object, it doesn't matter. And in the other system, we'll show you the right matches, either because we've built the application software blades, so we understand the structure of the data, or because we've analyzed the field or column names or the underlying data to suggest a match. This is the nitty-gritty work that ETL team members have to do to get these systems integrated. And at the final Level of implementation. Master data management has to do this stuff painfully, an ETL link at a time. We build high-level automation to do this, and we expect to reduce the time you have for setup by huge chunks, 60, 70, 80% or more. At any time, while you're looking at your data sources, you can decide to drill right into the actual data. There's no BI here. You're looking right through Virtual Data Manager or Virtual Master Data Manager into the 15 sources connected to it right at a specific instance of data, because you need to look at the data to understand how to build the integration and how to deploy. This is a basic capability. It's part of data virtualization, yet none of the data is in our system. You can see it if you have the security permissions, and you can redeploy it, you can use it, but you're not holding it. It's much faster than a relational database engine, up to 1,000 times faster, because we're just working with metadata. It's a big difference. Part of the magic that really makes this possible is what we call an application software blade. We use the term, it's not a piece of hardware, it's a piece of software, but it's a very powerful piece of software. It's much, much more than a connector. It's an intelligent piece of software that understands the data structure, understands where the custom fields are, understands and absorbs the security permissions, and enables you to connect to do all the things you need to do for data integration or virtual master data management. Excuse me. For many of these vendors, their APIs are extremely complex and they have multiple versions. We take care of all of this. So all you need to do to see what you saw on that dashboard is connect. And your ETL teams and your system architects do not need to worry about coding to the APIs. All of that's done. Relational apps, on-premise, object apps, cloud apps, nosql, it doesn't matter. We've built the interfaces to expose these things, and all you need to do is click, configure, and move forward to get done the work you need. Virtual Data Manager is the core engine for our platform. And the way it does this is pretty simple. When you connect through our application blades, the system discovers and organizes securely all of the different data sources and exposes them. It's that virtualization. It brings it into the object dashboard so that you can see it. It enables you to work with it, to federate it or globalize it, as we say, and then you can data integrate, you can do things with it. It's a very simple architecture. Expose data, click the boxes, decide the keys, make some decisions about how to harmonize the data and the business rules, and away you go. For virtual master data management, some of the business rules that implement the governance for how your data will move will be more complex, but our interface makes it very, very easy to build out that business rule set. Again, no SQL required from top to bottom. Anyone in your financial organization can sit down on our dashboard and feel really comfortable when they look at the system and understand its capabilities. That's almost never the case when it comes to SQL or relational-based implementations, and certainly not the case when it comes to ETL. ETL teams will tell you that ETL is pretty much a black box technology. It's closed. It doesn't matter what you say is in there. The only way to find out is to open it up. Data virtualization is a white box technology. You can open it up, see what's going on. It's auditable, it's compliant, you can see the lineage. It's all the things you need for your organization to scale, yet reduce the risk associated with an inability to find problem situations when they occur, or an inability to provide the audit that your financial organizations would expect. This architecture, we've implemented it, is what we call an N+1 architecture. We've recognized that the hub and spoke designed by the legacy vendors does not work most of the time for the largest organizations, and does not scale down to the smaller SMB organizations. Very rarely does a hub and spoke work because you've got to integrate with multiple systems, so people end up building a lot of different SQL connections through ETL links all over the place, and the architectures end up far more customized and standard. You have to do all the heavy lifting. You have to maintain that mess. With our architecture, wherever your integration points are, they can all connect together, and they can flow or not flow as you see fit into the virtual master data management architecture. That's the power of this system. We can scale up to meet the largest corporation in the world today or tomorrow far better than you can by deploying multiple instances of a legacy MDM architecture. An individual node in our system is a virtual data manager, which is a one-to-many hub and spoke integration point. It includes its own data quality engine, its own metadata server, persistent metadata directory, and controls and connects the blades that tie to the different sources. It includes a powerful security manager which does no more nor less than implement your security model. We do not try to introduce a new security model. We will take your existing security models like LDAP, so you can deploy role-based security for access to our system. So you see no more, no less in those application sources than you are empowered to see as an administrator or as a user. Or we can support the underlying permissions. We have one customer that integrated PeopleSoft with Google Search, and they use the application-based security. This is very powerful. This is something you won't find in ETL tools. ETL tools are just pipes, right? So you're connecting pipes from point A to point B. We have a hub and spoke, and we pass through all of your existing security infrastructure in a way that protects the data, but exactly the same way that you protect it today. So security officers and CISOs look at our system. They're very comfortable with it because we're not changing anything in your environment. We're not adding a new problem for them to manage. We're taking the existing framework you have and leveraging it, and this is something that data integration tools have not done a very good job with. When you build that pipe with ETL, you assume that anything on either side of that pipe has access to and through the pipe, and that's not necessarily the right decision some of the time. And here we make it easy for you by supporting all of your existing frameworks and architectures for security. Virtual Master Data Manager is a top-level node that adds 3 more modules, one for governance, one for quality, and one for performance. These are oversight modules that give you the current and past lineage of data quality, of the performance of the nodes. How many transforms are happening today? How many happened yesterday? What have the data quality problems been? I want to see all of the integration points and all the transforms going to this module in SAP. I want to see the state of those same things 4 months ago. I want to go back and see every transform that happened in that system. That's what Virtual Master Data Management will do, and that is exactly what the current legacy MDM cannot possibly do. Governance Manager allows you to flow records of truth between different systems. For example, I have an insurance division, I have a banking division. They have their own data integrations, and they have their own, in effect, master data that they've developed since they're harmonizing between their different systems. The banking group wants to do a change for date of birth, and they will do that based upon telephone identification. The insurance group will not accept that. Insurance group must have DOC. So there are rules for governance that even at the highest levels of data quality in individual operating entities still restrict or modify per business rules the necessary flow of data to the masters and restrict how it can synchronize or flow back. Our system gives you all the tools to address these very complex situations very simply, and we implement all of that again without any SQL, very high level, very intuitive. This is a big sea change, the fact that you can scale up an architecture to solve this kind of problem with this level of simplicity. If you looked at the sort of the taxonomy of the system, it's very different than ETL. ETL is, you've got your wizards, they code it up, but each link is done by them. They work from metadata maps and figure out kind of what the result needs to be. Here you look down through our system and you see from a virtual master data manager node, you see all of the different virtual data manager nodes. You may have one in EMEA, one in the US, one in Asia. You may have 10, you may have 20. Each may be linked to 2, 3, 5, 10 applications, whatever it is. Some may be simple integration, some may be virtual master data management related. It doesn't matter. You can see all of the projects. A project is an application that requires some integration points. You can see all the integration points, and you can see the business process rules that drive a bunch of transforms. If this is a prospect, then I want the data to synchronize or harmonize from Salesforce.com into these systems. If they are a customer, I want the data to synchronize, or as we say, harmonize, from the ERP system back the other way, right? These things are really easy to do with our architecture because we view business rules as a prime driver that precipitates the need for transforms. And most other architectures, you've got to code all that up yourself. So that's how users really work. They've got projects, they've got business rules, and they've got transforms that make it go. And our architecture maps wonderfully. And this is the same way that when you look in the future and you look to see, I want to see my lineage, my history. These are the same buckets in which you can sort and search and manage and time slice and find, and audit and find compliance. It's servers and projects and business rules and transforms and dates and times and metrics. And no one in the industry does anything like this today. Qplic's Virtual Master Data Manager will deliver this for your organization. You can just get a simple instance of Virtual Data Manager and see most of this capability. We will have that product available for free download in June, and you'll be able to download it and try it and see all of this capability. At the basic level, you've got data integration. You've got discovery, automation, the harmonization, which is the linkage of data, the elements of truth that have to move, and data quality, which is so important to any integration project. You can start to add governance, right, and higher levels of data quality for line of business and geo, and a different view of compliance and audit. So beyond the tactical integrations, now you can start to more broadly integrate and add the governance that you need. And finally, at the top level node, you're seeing the whole architecture top to bottom. You've got one integrated framework for every data integration point you have. One integration framework where you can see the state of data quality, you can see the state of any transform, you can see the state of any performance issue or state, past and present. And no other architecture will support this for you. If you need more integration points, you can spin them out because the architecture will support it. And this is a real-time, near-time architecture where you can propagate changes through the system very rapidly on a global basis. You can have 30, 40, 50 sources linked together and effectively integrate data and migrate the records of truth where they need to be. That's the architecture for the enterprise of the future. The enterprise of the future has a lot of different important apps, and they've all got to be tied together. And no one else has an architecture that will support that kind of growth and do it in an automated and easy to use way. There's just nothing else out there besides Virtual Master Data Management and Virtual Data Manager. Part of this architecture is the notion of recoverability. So our mid-tier customers work with us in the cloud. We're very proud of our deployment with NetSuite. It's a great architecture for ERP in the cloud. Many of our large enterprise customers use on-premise system. And the question that comes up is, I've got a big on-premise deployment. How does that work in my data center? Well, we have a test and production environment where you build out and have access to different data sources for test to build out your transforms. There's a process to move a test and production environment, a test and development environment into production, which is a different kind of configuration. And we provide full snapshot for backup of transforms so that system recovery can be effected in a fairly automatic way by your data center personnel. Whether for disaster recovery or otherwise. We allow the notion of a rollback so that someplace in your network, you've introduced bad data and you want to undo that either selectively or in aggregate. And our architecture supports that. We have tools to do that and solve that kind of problem. You can't begin to approach that kind of problem and solve it using a legacy MDM architecture, or just using a legacy integration. You've got 5 ETL links connecting a bunch of things and bad data is propagated. There's no hope of fixing that in any automated way. Our system builds in the components to do that. No other vendor can do that, but that's something we can do. When you look at data governance and you look at virtual MDM, virtual MDM is a key integration point and implementation point for the things that flow out of data governance, right? It's the things that you need to implement all the policies that you have. And virtual master data management, gives you all of those pieces. One integration environment. We build from the bottom up. You can see your sources of truth and propagate them automatically. You've got the reporting and alerts and dashboards that you need. You've got life cycle of data management. And as I said before, it's very, infrastructure robust. If you're a big company, this will fit in your data center. You'll be comfortable with it. If you ask more about the details of deployment, we live on VMware today, ESX and ESXi. We're looking at Microsoft's Hyper-V, and we're waiting for Oracle's new product to take shape. But fundamentally today, it's a VMware deployment on-premise or cloud if you're a mid-tier organization. In terms of the way this works, right, this is one continuum where you can take any integration point and tie it together. Anything you've done. Legacy MDM is pretty much an isolated strategy. You can build from the bottom up with virtual MDM. You can build locally, but you can govern globally. And legacy MDM is pretty much in any slice. It's at that point, it's a big bang. You have to do it. Virtual MDM, highly automated. Legacy MDM, manual process. The business model for legacy MDM is about selling you professional services, and the business model for us is about selling you software with a much better right-sized dose of PS. And the goal is that your total cost of ownership comes way down. Complex architectures for legacy MDM versus our simple tiered architecture, scale it up and down as big as you need to be. Legacy is all about SQL. It's relational, and the new world really doesn't apply. If it does, there's an adapter cobbled on an adapter, cobbled on a connector, and who knows what that really does for the system. In our case, the system's designed from the ground up to integrate all these different worlds and just much, much more. Even the interfaces you have to hand code with legacy MDM. We have application software blades that make it easy, and each of those saves you dozens to hundreds of hours of deployment and maintenance time. I could go on and on about the advantages. The best way for you to find out is to get an instance of Virtual Data Manager in-house or download it in June and try it out, and you'll get a sense immediately of how this is different as an integration technology. We are not wrapped around the relational paradigm. We are ready to deploy virtual master data management for the cloud, for objects, for XML, and much more. Because of the nature of legacy MDM, your pilot cycles are just really, really long. Discovery and ETL coding, all you're trying to demonstrate is that you can pull some data, store it, and then synchronize it back. We do this for mid-tier customers in the space of hours, days, maybe a week or two. A pilot's a more structured engagement, so let's say it's 3 months. But this is not hard stuff to do. We let you build out the data dictionary, we let you connect apps, pick a cloud app, pick 2 relational apps. We'll get them all integrated. Pick 5 or 10 fields that are key that you want to move between these systems, define the master data elements, and away you go. With virtual master data management, it's interesting to note that you don't have to collect in the center a physical set of master data. It really is all about metadata, and so we extract the pieces we need, we move them into the other systems where they're needed, and we transform them. But nowhere is it written that you have to have a set of this stuff, because the second you have a set of this stuff, it's subject to being out of date, just like anything else. You've got to keep it updated. If you want a set of this stuff that's updated all the time, you can use MDM Builder, which lets you produce a physical set, from our server, a new set of data someplace. And our goal for that will be that you can produce that set in whatever format suits you, and someday that may be, a non-relational source of master data. Who knows how you want to store it? But we have customers that may go down this road, and they don't necessarily need MDM Builder. They just need to know that the master data elements are described by sources of truth or described by the transformations that affect them, and that the data moves from the sources of truth and moves back with the requisite data quality into sources of record that need to use them. And it's not necessarily the case that you need a physical set of data. Big conceptual change, big change. But that's the new world. That's the world of the future. You don't have to stuff everything into another repository. You can leave it in the systems of record, but understand how you're going to use it and transform it when you need to. The vision for the future, things that we haven't implemented, of course, that we're moving towards, is really the notion of a unified dash. It's what Tivoli did for data networks, or certainly their dream, that you can look in one place and see all of your integration points across your enterprise. You can see the current and past state of data quality, that you can audit it, of the performance of the systems, of the number of transforms. How many applications are connected to my SAP today? How many transforms are being performed? How many data elements are changing? How many were connected 3 months ago? What are those apps? What were the specific transforms? What data elements were changed exactly on those days because those things happen, right? That's the future that we expect to support, and a dashboard to all the integration points and activity in your global enterprise. And that's a vision that no other vendor has delivered, that Qplex will deliver in early 2012. And we look forward to having you join us in our family of customers. Our value prop, as we said before, for any single integration, let's just forget Virtual Master Data Manager. We're going to take 2/3 to maybe 80–90% of the labor out of just getting stuff connected because of our automation and the power of data virtualization. Let's be frank, the real reason to do this is for data mobility and the strategic implications for the future. If you have people that do ETL, it may not make any sense to change out one instance to use this new technology, but the reason you want to do it is you want to discover the capability of this new technology, and then you want to see how much more it can save you over time and how much competitive advantage it can give you because you're unlocking data from proprietary systems. One of the big applications we do is just data migration. We migrate data from systems like Vantiv or Quintus and pull it into new environments, or move it into new cloud apps like NetSuite's ERP. So there's this ability to free your data up and give it mobility is a powerful one, and it makes it a far more strategic asset that you can leverage for competitive advantage. You know, the quicker you can redeploy your data, the more successful your enterprise will be in the future. So, thank you for spending time on the topic of Virtual Master Data Management. Give us a call, talk to us, download a copy of Virtual Data Manager in June or our Virtual Data Viewer now, and understand how Qplex can become your data integration company. We offer many unique capabilities, and these capabilities produce value and benefit for you and your organization that you're not going to get from any other technology set today. Thank you, and have a great day. I would be remiss if I didn't have my small commercial for the Virtual Data Viewer again, and I have to chuckle because I see that was added to the webinar. You please go to our website and find Virtual Data Viewer. You can download it or email sales@qplex.com, and we'll help you set the whole thing up. We'll make it easy for you. You can start building out a data dictionary and looking at your sources right away. Thank you again, and have a great day. Bye-bye.